"They are here for me," Billionaire told the maid. Then her toddler's reaction shocked all. Everyone thought she was just the maid's child. Until one moment changed everything. Grace had cleaned the Whitmore estate for 6 years, always keeping her daughter Lily close, always keeping her invisible. That night, the mansion was full of guests in diamonds and silk, celebrating billionaire Adrian Whitmore's 33rd birthday. Grace was told to keep Lily in the kitchen, out of sight, out of mind. But 3-year-old Lily didn't understand invisible. When Adrian walked past the kitchen door, exhausted from forced smiles and empty toasts, a tiny voice stopped him cold. "Are they here for me?" she whispered, pointing at the crowd of strangers. Adrian froze. Something about the way she asked it, hopeful, fearless, completely unaware of the walls people build, cracked something open in him he thought had closed years ago. He knelt down. And what happened next would change 3 lives forever. Hey everyone, welcome back to Heart Whisper Stories. Before we start, drop a comment and tell me, where are you watching from tonight? I love seeing where all of you are tuning in from around the world. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time, because tonight's story is one of the most emotional ones we've ever told. And trust me, stay until the very end because the final moment will completely catch you off guard. Let's begin. The chandeliers hadn't even been lit yet, and already Grace's hands were shaking. 6 years she had worked in the Whitmore mansion. 6 years of ironing shirts worth more than her monthly rent, of scrubbing marble floors that reflected a life she'd never touch. She had learned the rules early. Don't speak unless spoken to, don't be seen unless necessary, and never, never bring your problems into someone else's home. Tonight, her biggest problem had 4 tiny fingers and a laugh that could fill an entire room. "Mama, is it a party?" Lily asked, tugging at Grace's apron as the caterers wheeled in silver trays of food that cost more than Grace made in a week. "Yes, baby. Very important party. You have to stay right here in the kitchen with me, okay?" "Very quiet." Lily nodded, but her eyes drifted toward the ballroom doors, wide open, spilling golden light and orchestra music into the hallway. Grace's supervisor, a sharp-eyed woman named Denise, appeared in the doorway. "Grace, the child cannot be here tonight. Mr. Whitmore's assistant already asked twice. I couldn't find a sitter on such short notice. I figure something out. If Mr. Whitmore sees her, you could lose this job." Grace's stomach dropped. This job wasn't just a paycheck, it was rent, groceries, Lily's shoes for daycare, everything. She pulled Lily into the pantry, crouching down so they were eye to eye. "Baby, I need you to be my best little helper tonight. Can you sit right here, quiet as a mouse, until Mama comes back?" Lily's small face scrunched with the seriousness of the task. "Quiet as a mouse," she repeated solemnly. Grace kissed her forehead and hurried back to work, her heart aching the way it always did when she had to ask her daughter to disappear. Meanwhile, in the ballroom, Adrian Whitmore stood near the champagne fountain, nodding at people whose names he barely remembered, laughing at jokes that weren't funny. 33 years old. Billionaire. Owner of half the skyline downtown. And utterly, hollowly alone. His mother had died when he was 12. His father had raised him with spreadsheets instead of hugs. And somewhere along the way, Adrian had built the same kind of empire. Successful, cold, untouched. "Adrian. Wonderful party," said a woman in emerald silk, air-kissing his cheek. "You must be so happy." "Thrilled," Adrian said flatly, already looking past her. He excused himself, weaving through the crowd until he reached a quiet hallway near the kitchen, the only place in his own house that still felt real. That's when he heard it. Tiny voice. Humming. He turned the corner and found a small girl sitting cross-legged on the pantry floor, swinging her feet, humming a tune to herself while hugging a stuffed rabbit with one ear falling off. She looked up at him with enormous brown eyes, completely unafraid. "Hi," she said simply. Adrian blinked. No adult in this house spoke to him with that kind of ease. "Hi," he said back, surprised at himself. "What's your name?" "Lily," she said. Then, tilting her head, she asked the question that would echo in his mind for days. "Are they here for me?" But the question hit harder than Adrian expected. He crouched down slowly, unsure why his chest suddenly felt tight. "For you." "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Lily pointed toward the ballroom, toward the music and laughter and glittering lights. "All the people. Are they here for me?" Adrian almost laughed. Almost. But something in her face stopped him. She wasn't joking. She genuinely believed, in the innocent logic of a 3-year-old, that a room full of joy must be a room full of love, and love must be meant for someone. And in her small world, maybe no one had ever thrown a party just for her. "No, baby," he started to say gently. "This party is for Lily." Grace's voice cut through the hallway, sharp with panic. She rounded the corner and froze, seeing her daughter sitting at the feet of Adrian Whitmore himself. "Mr. Whitmore, I am so sorry, she wasn't supposed to." "It's fine," Adrian said, standing, brushing off his jacket. But Grace's face had already gone pale. She scooped Lily into her arms. "I'll take her home right now, sir. I'll call someone, please. I need this job, please don't." "Grace." Adrian's voice was quiet. "I said it's fine." She stared at him, waiting for the other shoe to drop, the way it always did with people who had money and power. "She asked me something," Adrian said slowly. "She asked if all these people were here for her." Grace's eyes filled instantly. She looked down at Lily, who was now resting her head on her mother's shoulder, thumb near her mouth, half asleep from the long day. "She says that sometimes," Grace whispered, "at the daycare when they have birthday parties for other kids, she always asks if it's for her." Adrian felt something shift in his chest, a memory surfacing before he could stop it. Himself, at 6 years old, peeking through the banister at one of his father's business galas, asking the housekeeper the exact same question. "Is this for me?" The housekeeper had said no. His father hadn't even noticed him standing there. "Does she have a party of her own?" Adrian asked. "A birthday party." Grace looked away, embarrassed. "Her birthday was 3 weeks ago. We had cupcakes. Just the two of us." Adrian said nothing for a long moment. Then quietly, "Bring her tomorrow. Not to clean. Just bring her." Grace blinked, confused. "Sir, I want to talk to you. About something. Please, Grace. Just trust me on this one." She didn't understand. But something in his voice, tired, sincere, almost pleading, made her nod. That night, after Grace tucked Lily into bed in their small one-bedroom apartment, she sat by the window for a long time, replaying the moment over and over. Billionaires did not ask maids to bring their children tomorrow out of kindness. There was always a catch. Wasn't there? What Grace didn't know was that Adrian had barely slept that night. He sat in his office long after the guests left, staring at an old photograph he kept locked in his desk drawer. His mother laughing, holding him at his 5th birthday party. The last birthday she was alive for. He remembered the cake. The small paper crown she made him wear. The way she knelt down just like he had knelt down for Lily and said, "This whole party is for you, my darling boy." Every single bit of it. He hadn't thought about that memory in years. And now a 3-year-old stranger had cracked it wide open with 4 small words. The next morning, Grace arrived nervously, holding Lily's hand, both of them dressed in their best clothes. Grace in a simple blue dress, Lily in a yellow sundress with a small stain she tried desperately to scrub out. Adrian met them in the garden, not the office. He had changed something overnight. The marble coldness in his eyes was gone, replaced with something unfamiliar even to himself. Nervous hope. "Thank you for coming," he said. Grace held Lily tighter. "You said you wanted to talk about something." Adrian took a breath. I want to throw Lily a birthday party. Real one. Balloons, cake, music, guests, everything. Grace stared at him, stunned. Sir, I don't understand. Her birthday already passed. I know. But she deserves one anyway. I want to do this. Not because I feel sorry for her. Because. He paused, searching for words that made sense even to himself. Because last night she reminded me of something I lost a long time ago. And I think I owe her, and maybe myself, a chance to feel that again. Grace's throat tightened. Part of her wanted to say yes immediately. But another part, the part shaped by years of being underestimated, dismissed, treated as invisible, bristled with suspicion. With respect, Mr. Whitmore, people like you don't usually do things like this for people like us without expecting something back. Adrian nodded slowly, unoffended. You're right to be careful. I haven't given you a reason to trust me. But I'm not asking for anything. I just want to give a little girl a party where every single person in the room is there for her. No hidden reason. No condition. Lily, who had been quietly playing with a nearby flower, suddenly looked up. Real party. For me. Adrian knelt down again. Yes. All for you. Her eyes widened, and for a moment, the whole garden seemed to hold its breath. Will there be balloons? She asked. As many as you want. Purple ones. Purple ones, Adrian promised, smiling. A real smile, the kind his own staff hadn't seen from him in years. Grace watched the exchange, torn between hope and fear. But something about the way Adrian looked at Lily, not with pity but with a strange, aching recognition, made her lower her guard just slightly. Okay, she said quietly. Okay. Thank you. None of them knew yet just how much that single party would end up changing. But what none of them expected was who would show up 2 weeks later. Word spread quickly through the Whitmore estate that the billionaire was throwing a birthday party for his housekeeper's daughter. Staff whispered. Guests were confused. Some, like Denise, openly disapproved. This isn't appropriate, Denise told Adrian bluntly. People will talk. Investors will ask questions. This is a business empire, not a charity. It's my house, Adrian said simply. And my choice. The morning of the party, the Whitmore garden transformed. Purple balloons floated everywhere. A 3-tier cake sat on a table decorated with tiny paper crowns, one for every child invited. Adrian had personally called the children of his staff, insisting their kids be included too, so Lily wouldn't be the only child there. Grace stood at the edge of the garden, overwhelmed, watching her daughter's face light up at balloons swaying in the breeze. This is too much, she whispered to Adrian as he approached. It's not enough actually, he said. I wanted a bounce house too, but apparently there wasn't time. Grace laughed, a real surprised laugh, the first one she'd allowed herself around him. Then, as the party reached its peak, something happened that no one expected. A black car pulled into the driveway. Out stepped an older woman in a tailored coat. Adrian's estranged aunt, Margaret, whom he hadn't spoken to in nearly 10 years, ever since a bitter family dispute after his father's death. Adrian, Margaret said, standing at the garden's edge, uncertain. Adrian froze. Margaret, what are you doing here? I heard about the party, she said carefully. For the housekeeper's little girl. I wanted to see it for myself. There was a long, tense silence. The last time they'd spoken, harsh words had been exchanged over inheritance, over his father's will, over years of resentment neither had healed from. But Margaret's eyes were fixed on Lily, who was now twirling in circles beneath a cascade of purple balloons, laughing with complete, unfiltered joy. She reminds me of you, Margaret said softly. When you were that age. Before everything got complicated. Adrian's jaw tightened. That was a long time ago. I know. Margaret hesitated. I'm sorry, Adrian. For the things I said. For not being there after your mother passed. I let money and pride ruin our family. Watching this little girl today, I don't want to make that mistake with what's left of ours." Adrian felt something crack in his chest. Old wounds, old grief, old anger, all rising to the surface at once. Grace, sensing the weight of the moment, quietly ushered Lily away to open her presence, giving Adrian space. He turned back to his aunt, eyes glistening. "It's not that easy, Margaret." "I know it's not," she said. "But I'd like to try. If you'll let me." For a long moment Adrian said nothing. Then he extended his hand. Not for a handshake, but for an embrace, hesitant and stiff at first, then tightening as years of unspoken grief finally found release. Across the garden, Lily's laughter rang out as she blew out her birthday candles for the second time that month, completely unaware that her small, innocent joy had just begun mending a family that money alone could never fix. But healing one wound would soon reveal another, deeper one. Later that evening, after most guests had gone, Grace found Adrian sitting alone by the fountain, staring at nothing in particular. "Thank you," she said, sitting a respectful distance away. "For today. For all of it." "Thank Lily," Adrian said. "She's the one who did it. Not me." Grace studied him for a moment. "Can I ask you something personal?" Adrian nodded. "Why did this matter so much to you? A little girl's birthday party. Most people in your position wouldn't even remember doing something like this next week." Adrian was quiet for a long moment, watching the water ripple in the fountain lights. "My mother died when I was 12, he finally said. "After that, my father buried himself in work. We had money, but the house went cold. No birthdays, no holidays, nothing. Just meetings and silence." Grace's expression softened. "I'm sorry." When Lily asked me if the party was for her, Adrian shook his head. It was like hearing my own voice from 25 years ago. "I never got an answer to that question." "Not really." "I decided she should." Grace felt tears prick her eyes. "She doesn't know how lucky she is to have met you." "No," Adrian said, looking at her directly now. "I think I'm the lucky one." There was a pause between them, something unspoken, delicate, new. "Grace, I want to ask you something else. And I want you to know you can say no." She braced herself. "I'd like to help pay for Lily's education. Not as charity. As an investment in someone who clearly has more warmth in her little finger than most people I do business with have in their entire bodies." Grace's breath caught. "Mr. Whitmore, I can't accept." "Adrian," he corrected gently. "And please, let me do this. Not because I pity you. Because I respect you. Raising her alone, working impossible hours, never once letting your struggle turn into bitterness. That takes a strength I don't have." Grace wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed by the emotion rising in her chest. "This is a lot to take in." "Take your time," Adrian said. "There's no pressure. No hidden agenda. I want good things for both of you." As they sat there in comfortable silence, neither noticed Lily peeking around the garden hedge, watching them with a simple, uncomplicated clarity only children possess. The clear-eyed understanding that these two people, who had both spent years protecting themselves from getting hurt, were slowly, carefully, beginning to let each other in. But the biggest surprise of all was still waiting to unfold. Months passed. Lily started attending a private preschool, funded quietly by Adrian, though he insisted it stay between them. Grace, no longer needing to work double shifts just to make rent, began taking evening classes toward the nursing degree she'd abandoned years ago when she became a single mother. Adrian visited more often, not as her employer but as a friend, then slowly as something more. One evening, nearly a year after that first birthday party, Adrian invited Grace and Lily to the estate for what he called a small dinner. When they arrived, the garden was once again transformed, not with balloons this time, but with soft string lights and white flowers, and a small round table set for three. Lily ran ahead, delighted by the lights. "Is this a party too?" "Sort of," Adrian said, smiling nervously in a way Grace had never seen before. After dinner, as Lily played nearby with sparklers under the supervision of Margaret, who had since become a regular warm presence in their lives, Adrian took Grace's hand. "Grace, this past year has changed everything for me. You and Lily walked into my life and cracked open a door I thought had been sealed shut forever. I don't want to go back to how things were before." Grace's heart pounded. "Adrian, what are you saying?" He knelt down, not fully, not dramatically, just enough to look her directly in the eyes. "I'm saying I love you, both of you. And I don't want this to be temporary. I want to build something real. Family. If you'll let me." Tears spilled down Grace's cheeks as she nodded, unable to speak for a moment. "Yes," she finally whispered. "Yes, Adrian." Lily, noticing the commotion, ran over immediately, sparkler fizzling in her small hand. "Why is Mama crying?" Adrian scooped her up gently. "Happy tears, sweetheart. Remember when you asked me if the party was for you?" Lily nodded seriously. "Well," Adrian said, glancing at Grace with soft, certain eyes, "from now on, every party in this house, every birthday, every holiday, every ordinary Tuesday is for you. Both of you. Always." Lily beamed, throwing her small arms around his neck. "Are you gonna be my daddy now?" The garden fell silent for a heartbeat. Adrian looked at Grace, silently asking permission. She nodded through her tears. "If that's okay with you," Adrian said softly, "I'd like that more than anything." "Okay," Lily said simply, as if the matter had never truly been in question, resting her head against his shoulder the way children do when they finally, completely feel safe. Above them, the string lights flickered gently in the evening breeze. No longer decorations for a stranger's party, but the quiet beginning of a family neither of them ever expected, built not from wealth or status, but from one small, fearless question a 3-year-old had once dared to ask. Sometimes the people we overlook the most are the ones capable of healing us the deepest. Lily never asked to change anyone's life. She simply asked an honest question, the way only a child can. And in doing so, she reminded a lonely billionaire, a guarded mother, and an estranged family that love isn't about status or money. It's about showing up again and again for the people who need to hear. Yes, this is for you. If this story touched your heart tonight, give it a like, leave a comment telling me your favorite moment, and subscribe so you never miss the next Heart Whisper story. We'll see you in the next one.